Hey, welcome to this week on Pittsburgh Sports Talk. It's kind of creepy around here. Hey, it's the last game. Well, tomorrow night's the last game against the Cubs. These guys are scaring me. I'm getting a little unnerved. It's zombie night. Sir, have you seen any zombies? Sir, have you seen any zombies? Anyway, it's zombie night down here at, well, I was going to say Three Rivers Stadium, but it's PNC Park. I'm so unnerved. I think I'm back at Three Rivers Stadium. We got a great show for you this week. We're going to go talk to Coach Tomlin. You're a big Coach Tomlin fan, aren't you? Yeah, he'd love to bite his head off. Anyway, we're going to go talk to the Steelers and find out about that tragedy. And you guys know all about tragedy. The tragedy last week in Philadelphia. Then we're going to go talk to some Pirates fans. Well, you're a Pirates fan, aren't you, sir? Yeah, maybe a Phillies fan. But anyway, we're in for a great show this week on Pittsburgh Sports Talk with me and the Zombies. Thanks, guys.
Week 3, 2-2-0 teams.
Make plays, hear me? Make plays here.
Here we go! Here we go!
Let's go!
Looks again, this time Lawson, and he's got his target. At the Philadelphia 40, that is Eli Rogers with the big game.
There's a screen, and running up the field is Antonio Brown. He's first down at the 30, a 13-yard gain.
Roethlisberger going deep down the field, and that one is hauled in by Sammy Coates.
All right, the Zombies obviously are still all over the place here at PNC Park. You know what? The fans are still fired up. It's a great atmosphere. It's a great, beautiful day here at the ballpark at PNC. You know what? Maybe your Pirates will rise to the occasion and beat these filthy Chicago Cubs in these last 2 games. What do you think? Yeah, he likes that. You know what, though? But before we even get to the Pirates and the Cubs and the Zombies, we got a couple things we got to do. We got to talk about that little disaster that happened last week in Philadelphia, where I had high hopes for your Steelers defense to have the linebackers in Pittsburgh. Everybody loves Pittsburgh back in action. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. So I sat in on the press conference with Coach Tomlin yesterday, and I had a few questions for him. All right, you and I both know the Steelers abandoned the running game against the Eagles last week, right?
Yes.
Wow. Okay, he must not be all the way dead. He's getting there, though, after last week in Philadelphia. So I asked Coach Tomlin, well, quite simply, did we abandon the running game?
Coach, did you abandon the running game too quick last week?
You know, you could say that, but, you know, we weren't doing a good enough job of stopping them. You know, had we gone out and probably stopped them on the first possession of the second half, we probably would have continued in a more balanced approach offensively. But when that game went to 20-3, it was a little bit different than 13-3.
All right, my friend, this young linebacking core, you know, Chickalo, I like him, I call him Chickalo, and Jarvis Jones into his 3rd season. Well, you know what he did last week, right? Yeah, that's what I asked the question, whether Jarvis Jones broke coverage and out of position as he ended up way up inside the A-gap instead of the flats.
First quarter, Sproles had the big out up the left flats. Jarvis was on a rush, but he ended up way up inside and almost in the center gap. Was he out of position on that?
I'm not going to get into specifically individuals on any particular play. I think I've been very specific about us being out of position in general and that producing some of the splash plays that they had. They didn't throw the ball over our head. You know, they had 300 yards passing, but I imagine over 200 of that were catch and run type plays or the broken play that we mentioned earlier. So you got to acknowledge that positioning and tackling were elements of our poor performance.
All right, unfortunately, your Steelers aren't so healthy, kind of like my 2 brand new zombie friends here. As we go into this week's game, Ramon Foster took a punch to the chest, and as you know, a chest punch hurts, right? They hate chest punches. Lawrence Timmons actually had a puncture wound, had to go to the hospital in Kansas City. But more so, the real problem is that young stud out of Ohio State, Ryan Shazier, that knee is not healing up. Really suspect, guys, if he's going to make the field. We may need both of you at inside linebacker. All right, the Kansas City Chiefs are coming to town this week, and guess what? Their head coach, Andy Reid, well, Peterson at Philadelphia, as she well knows, was also from Philadelphia, was on Andy Reid's staff. You can expect basically the same offense you saw last week put up over 30 points against our Steelers this week as Kansas comes to town. They got 2 running backs in Kansas that are leading the team not only in receptions but also in rushing yards. And they got a wicked tight end, Kelsey, who's coming to town too, who's not only great at catching the ball with close to 200 yards in reception, but he's a heck of a blocker too. So let's ask Coach Tomlin what he thinks about the Kansas City Chiefs. I hope I'm still here when you come back.
Now on to Kansas City. They're a good football team. We're very familiar with them. We've played them several times here in recent years. And, you know, really in a lot of ways, schematically have some strong similarities to the team that we just played. Obviously, Coach Peterson comes from that group. And, you know, so therein lies the schematic similarities. But just largely in terms of how they play, particularly on the offensive side of the ball, you know, Alex Smith, it starts with him. He does a good job of managing the offense. He's a veteran player. He's got autonomy to do things at the line, use cadence as a weapon, get in and out of good and bad plays, and he does that and has done that for a number of years. Very underrated from a mobility standpoint. His mobility is a big asset to them, whether it's by ad lib as plays break down and he's able to extend, or by schematics. You know, they have a splattering of some read option and some speed option, things to minimize what you're capable of doing from time to time to make sure that you're sound in your approach to defense.